The journalist, he or she is the person with the little candle or the little flashlight in the dark, and they can shine it on the darkest corners of the room to illuminate injustice, to illuminate corruption and civil rights violations and human rights violations. I think when journalism is done right, those are the kinds of stories that we should be telling, going into places where no one else has gone. Not only speaking to the movers and shakers of the world, but to the moved and the shaken.
The coronavirus pandemic has become an unprecedented staple of history. And while the world continues to be reshaped by the pandemic, along with issues of race, misinformation, politics, and injustice, journalists remain in the forefront of it all, reporting, investigating, and photographing life on a day-to-day basis. To better understand the effects COVID-19 has had on newsrooms, I talked to 3 journalists from Texas State's newspaper, the University Star, who shared their experiences reporting during a pandemic. The first being electronic media senior and the University Star's editor-in-chief, Jaden Edison, who began by explaining what life was like at the Star before COVID-19.
Yeah, so the best example I could use would be on a Monday. So a Monday is typically our production day where we put together our newspaper and we're here all day long. So, typically you have people like in the newsroom, like we're all on our computers working. There are some periods, right? You have some people might be doing homework, but it's a day where we all have to sort of be here throughout the day to see the whole production day through. But throughout the week, though, different meetings. So every section editor, they would have their meeting in our conference room, which is outside, not too far outside this office. The conference room where you see the meetings going on. People will be showing their PowerPoints and stuff on the big screen TV in there, and you see that side of it.
Despite the interruption, Edison says COVID has not stopped his team from obtaining stories from Texas State voices that need to be heard.
Especially during the pandemic and then the protests that were going on against racism and then the general election. This is a unique time for us to have to be virtual, because I think now, it's a lot of stuff that during a normal year, we'd be in the newsroom all day, all night trying to figure it out. So, knowing that we can do a virtual and take on things like our project right now that we're working on, that's, our year-long project focusing on the Black student population at Texas State, we've been able to do all that different stuff. And a lot of it has been conducted through virtual trainings, virtual meetings, and virtual conversations and text and all that type of stuff. So it's possible, and that's something I think we proved to ourselves this semester.
During a virtual Common Experience event covered by the University Star, ABC News correspondent and What Would You Do host John Quiñones reflected on his career and upbringing while also stating why journalists matter so much to communities.
The journalist, he or she is the person with the little candle or the little flashlight in the dark, and they can shine it on the darkest corners of the room to illuminate injustice, to illuminate corruption and civil rights violations and human rights violations. I think when journalism is done right, and we're not always doing it right these days, and we're under attack and nobody believes us anymore and they call us fake news. But when it's done right, those are the kinds of stories that we should be telling. Those are the kinds of stories that I'm proudest of, going into places where no one else has gone, shining a light on the darkness, giving a voice to people who don't have a voice. Not only speaking to the movers and shakers of the world, but to the moved and the shaken.
Life and Arts editor Brianna Benitez attended the event along with other University Star staff in November. However, she reveals that having to meet and interview her sources like Quiñones virtually instead of face-to-face has been bittersweet.
That's like the Life and Arts section in general. Like, I don't know, I think, like, obviously, like, I've done phone interviews in the past, but being face to face with somebody is just like a whole nother experience, because like if they invite you into like their space, so like if it's a business owner and they invite you into like their, like for example, I did like a story on this local jewelry designer, and she invited me into like her studio, so I was able to see everything, and like I was able to take like things that I saw and incorporate that into the story. So I definitely like miss being able to go into people's spaces and like really get to know them versus just like calling them or like meeting to them like over Zoom. And then in Life and Arts, like we obviously covered events, and like we cover events now, but like it's just not as fun to like, I mean, imagine if like we actually got to meet John Quinones or Lori Hernandez. Like that would have been like so much cooler than like doing a webinar Zoom thing. So I definitely like miss that. But hopefully next semester, I'm gonna be there. So like hopefully that'd be better, and like I can actually like socially distance hangouts, like I don't know, like maybe outside or something. I think that'd be cute.
Benitez also elaborated on how being involved with the University Star has given her the opportunity to not only grow as a person, but also as a writer.
I think without it, I wouldn't be the person I am today. Cause when I first like got to college, like I was so scared, and I was like really like, I'm still like pretty like a shy person, but like once you get to know me, I'm really not. But like again, like I was kind of shy, but like just being forced out of my comfort zone, and even though like it was terrifying, like that really like helped me so much. Cause like if you would have told like high school me that I would be the life and arts editor for the University Star and like manage meetings all the time, and have like like have the experience of interviewing like over 150 different people, like I wouldn't have believed you at all. And so I'm very thankful for the University Star and the experience and all like the relationships that I've made. um, and then during COVID, I think as a student journalist, um, I'm so grateful that I've been able to tell these stories that matter so much to people, because everyone's going through so much right now. I think we like give them a sense of hope in a way. Like we're not the ones tweeting out like COVID-19 numbers are rising, but like we are like kind of, I guess, the little thing of hope. But like in the beginning, like once COVID did start happening, like I remember like telling the stories of like businesses closing down, and like first generation students like not getting the chance to go to graduation and stuff like that, or like art students missing out on like this like their end of the year gallery that they basically like invite so many different people to and get like so much like networking experience through. So I think like those experiences, like I think I'm very grateful that I was the one to tell those stories. So I feel like I'm a part of like Texas State history in a way because I did that.
Multimedia reporter Vanessa Buentello has also faced certain challenges from a photographer standpoint when shooting at events like sports games for the Star.
So I definitely feel like my access to interact with people is very limited. I feel like if if everything was like normal, we'd be able to just interact with at ease, like no mask, just like can confront each other, have like normal conversations. And right now it's just a lot harder to do, especially it's harder getting sources, it's harder photographing people just to keep distance, just to make sure that everyone feels safe. And a lot of people don't necessarily feel safe right now. For me in my head, I like see a photo and like I want to go get it, and I can't sometimes just because maybe there's people around, or there's like a barrier where like I'm not allowed to cross for like social distancing purposes. And honestly it's kind of frustrating because like I know like the potential of a picture I can get, and then I can't get it. So I feel like that's just been the most frustrating thing for me.
Buentello also offers her advice to future journalists and journalists in the field to use this time of uncertainty as a time for opportunity.
I just honestly, I feel like there couldn't be a better time to be a journalist, because this is probably the hardest time that journalists are probably facing in a long time, just with connecting with people. And I feel like joining journalism or being a part of that right now and just automatically facing that barrier is just going to make you a better journalist overall. Like for me, I feel like it's definitely improved my communication skills, improved my way of like thinking of how I can get a story, just improved myself a lot. Without COVID, I feel like my job might have been easier, but I don't think it would have made me a better journalist.
Getting food on the go is something many college students in San Marcos do daily. The variety, quality, and delicious taste of food from food trucks is what keeps customers coming back. Taquitos Mi Rancho on East Hopkins has been a popular spot for students itching to get a taste of authentic, homemade Mexican food.
Yeah, I am from the border. I'm from Piedras Negras, Coahuila. But some of our people are from Guadalajara, so they really know about how to cook the meats and stuff like that, and they're really passionate about that. So
Ramirez grew up in San Marcos, and he says bringing his culture to the city has helped boost sales, and the response encourages him to open up a restaurant in the future.
I mean, we really want to open a restaurant. It might be a couple of years, but yeah, I mean, that's the idea to hopefully one day have a restaurant.
Another local food truck bringing soul to the city is Soulful Creations, located on Prospect Street at the Wonderworld Cave. This Black-owned mom-and-pop's trailer was the first soul food eatery in San Marcos. It started as a catering business.
So Texas State approached us, wanted us to sign up as vendors and caterers, and we were like, wait a minute, we got to go formulate a business because we don't have a business yet. So we went incorporated our business name and got insurance and started that way.
The Soulful Creations menu is inspired by the owner's upbringing in the South, and their favorite foods are featured.
The ambiance, just connecting with people, meeting new people. So for me, that's why it was so important for us to be here, let alone to be able to share our food and our upbringing with others here in San Marcos.
Along with serving their customers, both owners also give back to the San Marcos community regularly by feeding the homeless, battered women, and shut-in individuals.
I'm very much a community self-proclaimed activist. For me, it's always important about us getting out there, us being black folks getting out there, being seen, being heard, and looked at from a different standpoint other than stereotypical. San Marcos does not have a lot of black-owned businesses here, so for me, once again, it's about the community coming together, the culture coming together, but people also understanding of that, the fact that it is time for us to grow.
And as the community continues to be their number one priority, both Ramika and Willie Adams say they look forward to continuing to grow their business in San Marcos and take care of others as if they were family. For Bobcat Update, I'm Cristela Jones. FMA is home to some of the most stylish, forward-thinking fashionistas at Texas State. Their fashion shows are known to turn heads, but due to COVID-19, the organization has had to shift from in-person to recorded virtual shows.
Like when everything shut down, we had a lot of really good group of models. So they're all returning, and it's just like, even when you think everything might be shut down, like it always comes back full circle, and there's always regrowth in a sense, and we're just making the show the best that it can be.
This semester's theme for the spring show is Regrowth in Nature, inspired by FMA's hopes for a post-COVID world. Each fashion designer came up with his or her own twist on the theme by experimenting with different colors and techniques.
Most of my outfits are deconstructed from other items and made into these new pieces, so like sustainability is like a huge thing for me.
FMA is a place for students of all majors to express their love for fashion through various roles in the organization.
It's an opportunity for everyone to get involved, like even non-fashion merchandising majors, photographers and videographers and stylists and makeup artists, to get involved and really kind of practice. This is like real world situation, a fashion show.
The pandemic forced FMA to have its first virtual show last fall, and the organization learned from the experience.
I guess we consider ourselves kind of trailblazers in the fact that FMA has never really done virtual shows before, and we were the first ones to do it last fall. So we're kind of just trying to do that again and just keep making ourselves better.
The upcoming show will involve more people because several members have been able to get vaccinated. No matter the role, making statements in the fashion industry is something FMA members say they will continue to do moving forward, and anyone interested in attending FMA's Spring Show can purchase tickets for the virtual watch party on April 24th through their Instagram at FMATXST. For Bobcat Update, I'm Cristela Jones. Here's a unique way to call action to the month. Launch a business, serve customers, earn a living, use one's talents and abilities. Some Texas State students are doing just that. For example, HTX Braids owner Anita Natufe says she feels proud to own a hair braiding business while attending Texas State. Natufe says there's a demand for black hairstylists in San Marcos.
I know there's a lot of people that do nails, but hair, that's tough because usually if I can't like squeeze someone into my schedule, they're like, oh, do you know anybody else that can do my hair? And I don't.
Another black-owned business in town is headed by fashion designer Marquila Caldwell. Caldwell says it's important to support black-owned businesses year-round, not just during Black History Month.
I think being a black-owned business, especially during Black History Month, means just being able to work for yourself, really. Like, you don't, there's a lot of people that don't mind like working for bigger firms, working for other people, but I think it's important as a black person or any minority really to really create your own businesses and create your own spaces where you can employ your own people, circulate the money in your own community and things like that. And I think when you are a black business owner, you do have other people watching. So it's like whether it's your own community watching you and seeing like, oh wow, this is possible.
Natufe and Caldwell both say they want to expand their businesses after graduation and hope they can inspire black entrepreneurs to achieve their lifelong goals. For Bobcat Update, I'm Cristela Jones.